Coverdale Bible, The Acts of the Apostles, written by St. Luke the Evangelist. What the Acts contain. Chapter 9. Paul is converted, and confoundeth the Jews. Peter raiseth Tabitha. The 9th chapter. Saul was yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, and went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus unto the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he was going on his journey, it fortuned that he came nigh unto Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven, and he fell to the earth, and heard a voice, which said unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? He said, Lord, who art thou? The Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It shall be hard for thee to kick against the prick. And he, both trembling and astonied, said, Lord, what wilt thou that I shall do? The Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the city. There shall it be told thee what thou shalt do. As for the men that journeyed with him, they stood and were amazed, for they heard a voice, but saw no man. Saul rose from the earth, and when he had opened his eyes, he saw no man. Nevertheless, they took him by the hand, and brought him to Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither ate nor drank. At Damascus there was a disciple named Ananias, and unto him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, here am I, Lord. The Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and ask in the house of Judah after one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming unto him, and laying the hand upon him, that he might receive his sight. Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man, how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here hath he authority of the high priests to bind all those that call upon thy name. The Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for this man is a chosen vessel unto me, that he may bear my name before the heathen, and before kings, and before the children of Israel. I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. And Ananias went his way, and came into the house, and laid the hands upon him, and said, Brother Saul, the Lord which appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me, that thou mightest receive thy sight, and be filled with the Holy Ghost. And immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales, and he received his sight, and rose, and was baptized, and took meat, and was comforted. Then was Saul a certain days with the disciples that were at Damascus, and straightway he preached Christ in the synagogues, how that he was the Son of God. But all they that heard him were amazed, and said, Is not this he which at Jerusalem spoiled all those that called on his name? And came hither to the intent that he should bring them bound unto the high priests? But Saul increased in strength, and confounded the Jews which dwelt at Damascus, and affirmed that this was very Christ. And after many days the Jews held a council together to kill him. But it was told Saul that they laid wait for him, and they waited at the gates day and night, that they might kill him. Then the disciples took him by night, and put him through the wall, and let him down in a basket. But when Saul came to Jerusalem, he essayed to join himself to the disciples, and they were all afraid of him, and believed not that he was a disciple. Nevertheless, Barnabas took him, and brought him to the apostles, and told them how he had seen the Lord in the way, and how he spake to him, and how he had done boldly at Damascus in the name of Jesus. And he was with them, and went out and in at Jerusalem, and quit himself boldly in the name of the Lord Jesus. He spake also, and disputed with the Greeks. But they went about to slay him. When the brethren knew that, they brought him to Caesarea, and sent him forth to Tarsus. So the congregations had rest throughout all Jewry, and Galilee, and Samaria, and were edified, and walked in the fear of the Lord, and were filled with the comfort of the Holy Ghost. It chanced that as Peter walked through all quarters, he came also unto the saints which dwelt at Lydda. There found he a man named Aeneas, which had lain upon his bed 8 years sick of the palsy. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ make thee whole. Arise, and make thy bed for thyself. And he arose immediately, and all they that dwelt at Lydda and at Sarona saw him, and turned unto the Lord. At Joppa there was a certain woman that was a disciple, named Tabitha, which by interpretation is called Dorcas. The same was full of good works, and alms deeds, which she did. But it chanced at the same time that she was sick, and died. Then washed they her, and laid her in a chamber. But for so much as Lydda was nigh unto Joppa, and the disciples heard that Peter was there, they sent 2 men unto him, and desired him that he would take it for no grief to come unto them. Peter rose, and came with them. And when he was come, they brought him into the chamber, and all the widows stood round about him, weeping, and showed him the coats and garments which Dorcas made while she was with them. And when Peter had put them all forth, he kneeled down, made his prayer, and turned him unto the body, and said, Tabitha, rise up. And she opened her eyes, and when she saw Peter, she sat her down again. But he gave her the hand, and lift her up, and called the saints and the widows, and showed her there alive. And it was known throughout all Joppa, and many believed on the Lord. And it fortuned that he tarried a long season at Joppa by one Simon, which was a tanner.